You think being a servant is easy? Try serving a man who sleeps with a sword under his pillow and could kill you for wrinkling his kimono. Forget mops and trays. In feudal Japan, being a samurai servant meant waking up before the roosters, dodging flying sake cups and praying your master doesn't decide to test his blade on your spine just to keep it sharp. Because here's the twist. The real power in the samurai world wasn't just in the sword. It was in the rituals, the ego, the silence, and the poor bastard stuck folding the armour. And yes, this is all backed by historical fact. Samurai retainers were real. They managed tea ceremonies, bathed their masters, cleaned their messes, polished their swords, and kept their mouths shut. Or else. So tonight, let's take you there. Let's put you inside the sandals of a lowly retainer, one slip away from disgrace or disembowelment. You're a samurai's servant, and today you have a job to do. You don't wake up, you're yanked. A calloused hand grabs your ear and tugs so hard you roll off the tatami mat like a dropped sack of rice. Your head thuds, your ribs knock the floorboards, and you're instantly wide-eyed and dizzy. Welcome to another morning in Lord Hoshikawa's household. Before you've even had a chance to cough, he's already pacing. You can hear the swish of silk robes, the soft clink of sword fittings. You scramble to your knees and bow so hard your forehead smacks the floor. You don't dare speak. You've served Hoshikawa-sama for 7 months now. A mid-ranking daimyo's third son, cast off to the provincial garrison with more enemies than friends, and a face so serious it could crack stone. You handle his armour, his meals, his baths, his temper. Mostly his temper. Your first task today is the worst, cleaning the katana. Not just any katana, his family blade. A centuries-old piece of folded steel, hand-forged by a monk and allegedly blessed by a fox spirit. You once sneezed near it and got slapped so hard your ear rang for 2 days. You crawl to the weapon stand like it's holy ground. With slow reverence, you lift the blade and unsheath it an inch. Your breath fogs the mirror finish. You stop breathing. You wipe it gently with the choji oil-soaked cloth. Every stroke precise, every movement rehearsed like a monk copying sutras. If you drop this, you won't live to regret it. The house is cold this morning. Autumn wind slips through the cracks. Your fingers go numb as you wrap the handle in fresh silk. Outside, you hear the thud of bowstaff training. The other samurai are up early, sparring like angry ghosts in the gravel courtyard. Hoshikawa-sama is waiting by the bathhouse. He doesn't speak. He never does unless he's correcting you, which is often. You kneel beside the wooden tub, ladling hot water with one hand, testing temperature with the other. He strips and steps in without a word. You look down, as always. His sigh is long and low. He fought yesterday. Something about an insult from a neighbouring clan's messenger. And the bruises on his chest bloom purple like eggplants. You hope the water doesn't sting. You don't want to hear him shout again. When he bathes, you're invisible, but still essential. You must hand the towels before he asks, collect his clothes before they touch the ground, and fold the underkimono just the way he likes. Creased at the hip, open at the throat, never touching the floor. You once folded it wrong and he kicked over the brazier. After the bath comes tea, not for you, for him. You carry the lacquer tray up to the garden balcony. Footsteps soft, posture perfect. You kneel, bow, and present the tea like a humble offering to a storm god. He ignores you, as expected. But when he sips it, silently, eyes on the koi pond, you feel your lungs deflate. You've survived the first hour, but now comes the real ordeal, accompanying him to the magistrate's estate. You're not invited, but you're required. As his attendant, you walk exactly 2 steps behind, not 3, not beside. Exactly 2. You carry his box of documents and inkstones, the emergency tanto blade, the foldable stool he never uses, and the ceremonial fan he only opens when he's bored or annoyed, which is always. The walk is long, the road is muddy, you slip once. He doesn't say a word, but you feel the shame cling to your back like the wet dirt on your knees. A group of commoners pass you. They don't bow deeply enough. You watch his hand twitch near the hilt of his wakizashi. You pray he lets it slide. He does. Today. At the estate he is a different creature, still and cold as a painted statue. You kneel beside the wall, silent, eyes on the floor. He discusses land disputes, grain taxes, and troop reports with voices above your station. You are the furniture. You are the shadow. But you also take notes, mentally. You must remember who insulted him, who offered weak sake, who didn't bow deeply enough. Because tonight, after the lanterns go out, he'll ask you, and if you forget, you'll be punished. Not loudly, not physically, but with silence, glares, or, if you really messed up, an order to polish the blade again, even if it's midnight and your fingers are bleeding. Hours pass. The meeting ends. You carry everything back. The ink has leaked onto your sleeves, staining them. You want to wipe your hands? You don't. Back at the estate, dinner is fish and radish soup. You eat in the servants' quarters, behind the stables, in silence. Someone whispers a joke. You don't laugh. You're too tired, too tense. Every muscle remembers the strain of standing straight for hours. You smell like ash and sweat. Your knees ache. Your palms sting. But your day isn't done. Tonight, Hoshikawa-sama is in one of his moods. You hear it in his footsteps. Fast, sharp. His sandals snap the floorboards like whip cracks. He wants the calligraphy set. He wants the moon viewing cushion. He wants the incense lit, but not too smoky. He wants his poems praised, but not too much. He wants you nearby, but not seen. You sit in the corner like a mouse, and when he finally lays down, robe folded, lights dim, blade by his side, you wait. Only after the final breath slows do you crawl back to your own mat, body twitching, eyes stinging. You made it through the day, you lived, but barely. And in the morning it starts all over again. You sleep for maybe 3 hours, maybe less. The kind of sleep that isn't real rest. Just a soft collapse. Your eyes sting, your joints ache, and your dreams are filled with folding endless robes while someone whispers faster behind your ear. But you don't get to dwell on it. The rooster crows, and somewhere beyond the paper walls of your servant's hut, a bell chimes. It's not meant for you, it's meant for the kitchen staff, but it's loud enough to snap you upright like a startled squirrel. You splash your face with water that smells faintly of fish, tie your obi with a trembling hand, and sprint barefoot across the compound to your master's quarters. The sun isn't up yet, but he is. He always is. You slide open the door and find him sitting cross-legged, eyes closed, the curve of his sword gleaming beside him. It's a scene you'd call peaceful if you didn't know him, but you do. That sword's not decorative. It's his only friend, and he's likely been awake for hours meditating on something important, or petty. With Hoshikawa-sama, those two things are often the same. You bow low, waiting for his first order. It doesn't come. Instead, he says nothing, which is worse. When Hoshikawa-sama is quiet, something is usually wrong. Last time it was his younger brother insulting his poetry. The time before, a rice merchant overcharging him by a single mon. You stand still for what feels like an hour before he finally speaks. "Where is the Suba?" he asks. Your blood runs cold. The Suba, the sword guard, the ornate hand-forged disc that sits between the handle and the blade. Custom, family heirloom, gold-plated, dragon motif. He had you polish it last night. You remember, you think. You bow again, deeper this time. "I will retrieve it, my lord." You race back to the weapon storage room like a terrified monkey, heart hammering, mouth dry. You slide open the case where you'd laid everything out. There it is, gleaming, still wrapped in silk. You didn't forget it. But the fact that he had to ask, that's a sin in itself. You return it on your knees, head bowed, arms outstretched like it's the head of a rival warlord. He doesn't look at you, just picks it up, inspects it, and sighs through his nose like someone who's constantly disappointed by the air. "Prepare my riding gear," he says, "and wash my underrobe, the white one, the one that doesn't smell like pickled turnips." You pause. Turnips? You sniff your sleeve. No, not you. You haven't eaten a turnip in days. It clicks. One of the other servants must have stored kimono linens near the pantry again. A punishable offence. But you're the one being punished now, by proximity. You run the robe down to the river for a full cold water wash. Your fingers go numb. The white silk clings to your arms like a wet ghost. It takes 3 full rinses and a prayer to whatever kami oversees laundry to get the smell out. You wring it dry and hang it near the fire, fanning it with your hands like a frantic bird. You glance at the sky. Still time. You return to Hoshikawa-sama's quarters just in time to dress him. Now, dressing a samurai is an art, a ritual, a trap waiting for the smallest mistake. The underrobe must be folded precisely, the belt tied at a 45-degree angle, the hori layered so the family crest sits perfectly between the shoulder blades. If any part touches the ground during the process, you're dead. Or worse, he speaks to you. But today something strange happens. As you smooth the last fold and step back, he nods. He nods. You nearly fall over. That was approval, no sarcasm, no sigh. You bow again, this time a little too quickly, almost hitting your head on the floorboards. Your nerves are still humming, like your blood is made of fireflies. He's riding out to meet a guest, a noblewoman, the daughter of a local daimyo, which means one thing: the household is about to turn into a theatre of lies. As his servant, you're expected to behave invisibly, but flawlessly. You'll be attending to his horse, watching the conversation from a respectful distance, and absolutely, under no circumstances, allowed to speak. You follow him to the stables. His horse, a giant bay stallion named Reijin, immediately snorts at you. You bow to it too, just in case. The horse is brushed, the saddle is polished, the stirrups are wiped down again, even though you did that last night. You help your master mount without so much as brushing his robes. You walk alongside, 2 steps behind, down the cherry-lined path toward the estate gardens, where Lady Ichiko awaits. Now, you've never spoken to Lady Ichiko. You wouldn't dare. But you've seen her from afar, an elegant woman with a sharp voice and eyes that scan people like they're scrolls. You once saw her make a senior official flinch with a single glance. You fear her more than your master, which is saying something. She sits beneath the maple tree, dressed in 12 layers of silk, with attendants fluttering like bees around her. When your master bows, she barely moves. When he speaks, her fan covers a smile that could either be flirtation or mockery. You kneel beneath the garden steps, holding the sword case, watching, listening. The conversation begins polite, then veers. She questions his recent patrols, challenges his poetry, refers to a rumour about his brother's mistress. Your master stiffens. You grip the sword case tighter. Lady Ichiko laughs, soft and sweet like poison in a bowl of rice. "I heard," she says, "that your servant once folded your war hori inside out. How embarrassing. Your blood drains. She's talking about you. That happened months ago. You thought everyone had forgotten." Hoshikawa-sama says nothing. The pause is long, heavy. Then he chuckles. He laughs. You almost drop the sword. "Yes," he says, "but he bleeds honour now." Your stomach flips. Is that a compliment? Did he just save you? You try not to look up. Try not to breathe too loudly. The rest of the meeting blurs. Words flow like ink on old paper. You're too stunned to focus. Later, after the sun dips below the mountain, you return to the estate. You expect anger. A test. A comment about the tsuba or the robe or the way you breathed. But instead, Hoshikawa-sama hands you the empty teacup after dinner and simply says, "Good." Just that. One word. It echoes in your skull like temple bells. You bow so low your nose touches the floor, and as you leave his chamber, robe rustling, sword still whole, and pride somehow intact, you realise something terrifying. You want to do better. You want to be perfect, and that, more than anything, means the samurai life is slowly infecting you. You wake before the bell, before the rooster, before the sky turns grey, before the mice finish arguing under the floorboards. You rise in total darkness, muscles creaking, joints stiff, the mat beneath you still warm with your body shape. No one calls you, no one orders you, but you move anyway. Because now it's in you. The rhythm, the pacing, the way of watching a man's eyes to learn what he won't say with his mouth. You don't wait to be told anymore, you anticipate. The water is already boiling before the kitchen servants even light the lanterns. You've pre-selected the winter robe for Hoshikawa-sama, the heavy one with the dark blue lining that matches his family crest and hides blood stains in case the day turns violent. Not that you expect it to, but with him you never rule it out. He wakes slowly today, which is rare. When you slide open the paper screen, he's sitting up, staring at nothing. His hair is down, his sword is still sheathed, and, for once, he looks tired. You bow, kneel, and place the warm cloth and tea by his side. He doesn't speak. You don't expect him to, but then he does. "Today," he says quietly, "you'll follow me inside the archives." Your hands pause. You don't look up. The archives. No servant enters there, not unless they're summoned. The scrolls, the records, the oaths, the family lines, all guarded, all sacred. The room where secrets are inked and histories are edited. You nod once, deeply. The day unfolds with a strange quiet. No sparring in the courtyard. No visiting nobles. Just an eerie calm, like the stillness before a storm. By mid-morning he dresses himself. You still offer your hands where needed, adjusting the sword belt, brushing lint from the shoulder, but you say nothing. There's a tightness around his eyes. He hasn't slept. You'd bet your rice ration on it. At the threshold to the archive building he pauses. "Do not speak," he says. "Do not touch anything unless I ask." You bow low enough to smell the dust on the floor. The door slides open with a moan. The smell hits you first. Aged ink, wood oil, old paper, and something faintly sweet. Plum incense, maybe, from some forgotten ritual. Inside, the room is lit only by slatted sunlight and 3 ancient lanterns that buzz faintly with flies. The shelves stretch to the ceiling, filled with scrolls bound in silk, tied in string, some so brittle they look like they'd crumble at a sneeze. You kneel at the entrance. He walks deep into the rows, and then he starts to read. Hours pass, scroll after scroll, ledger after ledger. You stay still, stone still, even as your legs cramp and your stomach groans quietly. He says nothing, only makes low sounds sometimes. Tisk, tich, as he traces lines of ink with his finger. And then, suddenly, "Come here." You rise on trembling legs, bow and approach. He holds a scroll. It's different than the others, older, yellowed, tied in black string. He unties it slowly, his face unreadable. It's a record, a family record. You can't read all the characters, but you see the names. His grandfather, his father, a cousin, a bastard sibling. Then something is crossed out, blotted deliberately. "What do you see?" he asks. You blink. A missing name, my lord." "Good." He stares at it for a long time, then rolls it shut and returns it to the shelf. Neither of you speak on the walk back. His hands are clenched, his steps sharp. That night he doesn't eat. You lay the tray down, but he doesn't touch it. He just sits by the garden window watching the moon rise like it's holding some answer he's too tired to ask. You don't leave, even though you could. Instead, you kneel outside the screen, silent, unmoving. Eventually he speaks. "My brother forged that record." You don't respond. You're not supposed to, but your ears prick up. "He tried to erase something," Hoshikawa-sama says. "Or someone." Another long pause. Then, "He will regret it." You bow your head lower. You're not sure if he's talking to you, or himself, or no one. Later, when he finally lies down, you return to your hut. But sleep doesn't come easy, because now you know something you shouldn't. The next morning the compound is humming, not loudly, not with joy, but with tension. Footsteps are brisk, doors slide faster, voices are low and clipped. You see servants you don't recognise, messengers from the main estate probably, officials, men in formal dress, all wearing the same expression, polite dread. Something's happening. You hear it before you see it. The sound of hoofbeats on stone. An envoy arrives. His robes are fine, his expression blank. You kneel as they pass, forehead to the ground, eyes low. But you catch the insignia. Hoshikawa's elder brother. A full daimyo, not a guest, a challenge. By midday, the compound is rearranged like a battlefield. Seating is prepared, formal wear laid out. Even the tea leaves are replaced with a fresher blend. You are summoned to help your master dress. He doesn't speak. You don't ask questions. But his hands tremble slightly as he fastens the family sword. Not with fear, with control, the kind that can crack if pushed too hard. The meeting is formal, ridiculously so. You kneel far behind, still within earshot. His brother speaks in careful tones, compliments the garden, the koi, the weather, but never the man, and Hoshikawa-sama responds with equal ice. You only catch part of the conversation, land disputes, dowry rumours, a lost ledger, and then the scroll. Your master references it, not directly, but just enough. A pause. His brother's fan stills in the air, and then a laugh. Light, condescending, and that's when you see it. A flash of something in your master's eye. Not rage, not sadness, purpose. That night there is no dinner, no bath, no poems, just silence. And then he hands you a message. Folded paper, sealed with his crest. Deliver this, he says, to the shrine at Toranaka Pass. Tonight, alone. You bow. And when you leave, your heart pounds not from fear but from something new. You're no longer just a servant. You're part of something. And that is more terrifying than anything else. The letter feels heavier than paper. Folded and sealed with wax, it's tucked into your sleeve like a dagger, and you swear it pulls at your arm with the weight of a boulder. Your master didn't tell you what was inside. He didn't need to. He said Toranaka Pass, which is not a shrine, not really. It's a mountain, a long one, a steep one, a cold one, with a lone wooden altar built halfway up the cliff where wind tears at your face like claws and monks speak in riddles. It's where men go when they want their words to disappear into the sky. And now you're the one delivering them. It's past midnight when you leave the compound. No horse, no escort, just your sandals, your breath, and a linen cloak to keep the wind from skinning you alive. The air tastes like smoke. The moon is half lit, like it's watching you through one suspicious eye. You take the back path, always the back path. The trees are silent tonight. Not dead silent, just holding their breath. The usual frogs and owls are quiet. The grass crunches dry under your feet. You feel every step in your thighs. You haven't eaten since morning. You'd kill for some boiled rice, or pickled plum, or even that bitter radish soup the cook ruins every 10 days. But this job comes first. You reach the base of the pass by the second hour of the rat. Your breath clouds like pipe smoke. The wind has claws now, and your fingers are going numb. But you climb. The path winds like a drunk snake up the side of the mountain, and every step feels steeper than the last. The shrine doesn't appear until you're almost crawling. There's no lantern. No sound, just a squat wooden altar with cracked beams, a prayer bell and wind that hisses through the cedar trees like it's whispering threats. You bow, because you're not stupid. Then you slide the letter beneath the altar stone just like your master said. You wait. You don't know for what, but you wait anyway. Maybe it's ritual, maybe paranoia, or maybe you want to make sure the gods don't throw it back. Nothing happens. No lightning, no voice, just a branch falling somewhere too close for comfort. You turn and descend, your knees shaking, your fingers too stiff to grip your own sleeves. By the time you reach the compound again, it's nearly dawn, and that's when things start going wrong. The gate guard doesn't greet you. That's your first clue. Normally he grunts, or nods, or says something snide about how you smell like cold soup. But tonight he just stares, blank-faced, expressionless. You bow. He doesn't return it. You keep walking. In the courtyard, the gravel has been raked into perfect spirals, but there are footprints, lots of them, heavy boots, military tread. You freeze. Something's off. You walk faster, heart thudding, sleeves clinging to your arms with sweat and frost. Then you hear it. Voices. Too many. From your master's hall. You reach the outer wall and kneel low, pretend to arrange the firewood. Then you listen. You hear your master's voice. Calm, dry, unbothered. You hear another voice. Deeper, older, arrogant. It's his brother. They're talking about land reassignment, about patrol irregularities, about suspicious alliances with border clans. You don't understand all of it, but you understand this. There's a trap being laid, and your master is standing in it with a smile. You slip away before they notice. You make it back to your hut and collapse, trying to stay quiet, trying to breathe. You've heard too much. You've done too much. You're not just a servant anymore. You're a liability. And in samurai households, liabilities tend to disappear. You close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come. Instead, your mind replays the walk to the shrine, the way the wind howled, the way the trees watched, and the way your master looked when he handed you that letter. Not nervous, not scared, just tired. Tired and ready for something. You're summoned by mid-morning. No chance to rest, no time to eat, just a knock on your sliding door and a quiet word. Your presence is required. You bow and follow. This time you don't go to your master's room. You're taken to the garden, the big one, where they host seasonal poetry readings and bloodless duels. He's there, sitting, alone, dressed in full formal wear, sword across his lap, eyes closed. You kneel 3 body lengths away. You don't speak. Eventually he does. "I sent you to the mountain," he says. You bow. "You delivered it?" "Yes, my lord." He doesn't nod, doesn't smile, just says, "Good." Then silence. Minutes pass. Birds return to the trees. You think maybe that's it. Maybe the worst is over. And then a servant runs into the courtyard. Pale, breathless. "There's a fire," she gasps. You look up. Smoke. From the West Watch Tower. Your master rises in one smooth movement. His sword's already in his hand. "Come," he says. And just like that you're running again. The fire isn't an accident. You know that the moment you see the broken lantern, the spilled oil, the footprints leading out of the structure, arson or a message. You help carry buckets. You burn your palms on the handles. You cough smoke into your lungs. No one gives you orders. You just move. You've learned enough by now. Hours pass. The fire dies. Your lungs still hurt. That night, Hoshikawa-sama calls for you privately. He hands you a new message. This time no shrine, just a delivery to a man named Imai. In town. Quietly. No markings on the scroll, no seal, no clue what it says. But your hands tremble as you take it. Because now you're involved. More than ever. And if you're caught, you won't be punished. You'll just vanish. Which means there's only one thing to do. You bow and you run. Again. Into the night. Because that's what a servant does. A real one. One who knows too much and says nothing. You reach town before sunrise. Barefoot, cloaked, and trying not to breathe like a criminal. You've never liked coming down here alone. The castle village smells like boiling miso, sewage, and roasted eel guts. The alleys are narrow, the people don't bow, and you, clad in your master's plain servant robes, letter hidden in your sleeve, don't belong. The man you're supposed to meet is named Imai. No family name, just Imai. You weren't told what he looks like, or where he'll be, just he'll find you. Which is deeply unsettling. You walk the same alley 3 times before you find the right place. A noodle shop that isn't open, with no signboard and one broken lantern swinging low like a noose. You wait. You pretend to study the ground, the sky, a cracked tile near the gutter. Then a voice behind you. Your left sandal is loose. You spin, bow instinctively. The man is average height, rough face, and one crooked tooth peeking from a sardonic grin. His robes are too nice for a labourer, too worn for a merchant. His eyes scan you like a surgeon weighing whether to use a scalpel or an axe. He doesn't introduce himself, he just gestures to follow. You do, through back alleys, over drainage ditches, past a sleeping drunk and 2 cats fighting over a fish head. Finally into a courtyard behind an abandoned stable where he turns and says, "Give it." You hesitate, then you hand him the scroll. He weighs it, sniffs it, knocks on it like it's bamboo. "Unsealed," he mutters. "Clever." He slides it into his sleeve without opening it. Then he points at your chest. You saw nothing, heard nothing, said nothing. You nod. "I mean it," he says. "If anyone so much as asks what colour my sandals were." "They were brown," you blurt, immediately regretting it. His grin returns, tooth and all. "You'll live." He turns and leaves, boots silent. You stay frozen for 10 full breaths before you exhale. You return to the compound after sunrise, bones like wet rope, eyes stinging. No one notices. Which is the goal? You sweep the veranda like nothing's wrong. Serve tea to the other retainers like you've never held secrets under your sleeves. You even polish the armour, again, with extra oil and no complaints. You don't see Hoshikawa-sama until dusk. He's in the garden, surrounded by petals. A plum tree shed half its blossoms overnight. The wind is soft, the silence heavy. He's writing. You watch from the doorway, invisible. Then he speaks. "Did he take it?" You bow. "Yes, my lord." A pause. "Did he read it?" You blink. "I don't believe so." Your master hums, low in his throat. "Good." Then nothing. You remain kneeling, waiting, hoping for dismissal. But it doesn't come. Minutes pass. He says, "What do you think of Imai?" You're not sure if it's a trap, but you answer anyway. "He looked dangerous, my lord." Your master almost smiles. Then finally, go. Eat. You bow and flee like a man given his last breath. That night during dinner, 2 things happen. First, a courier from the capital arrives, bearing a scroll sealed with red wax and 3 black cords. That's code for high priority, eyes only, immediate response. Second, a retainer from another house, one of your master's rivals, shows up at the gate and refuses to remove his sandals before stepping into the entryway. Your master says nothing. But later that night you find him in the weapons room, holding a short blade. The light flickers across his face. He's not angry, not sad, just ready. "You've seen more than most men see in 10 lifetimes, he says quietly. You're not sure if he's praising you, or warning you, maybe both. He places the blade back on the rack, wipes it clean and adds, "If I die tomorrow, burn my correspondence, all of it." You nod. "'Cause what else can you do?" The next morning you wake to a different sound. Not the bell, not the rooster. Voices, shouting, armour clanking. You throw on your robes and rush to the outer courtyard. Men are assembling. Not servants, soldiers. Full armour, arrows in quivers, helmets strapped tight. You find your master with his arms crossed, watching. He doesn't look at you, just says, "There was an attempt last night. Someone tried to enter the West Archive." Your stomach drops. That's where the family records are. The old scrolls, the secrets, the ones you saw. "The intruder escaped," he says, "but left evidence." You look down, at the dirt, at your own hands, at anything but him. You are seen speaking to a man in town. Your heart stops. For a moment you think it's over, but then he adds, "Which is exactly what I needed." You look up. He's smiling, not big, not warm, but satisfied, because he used you as bait. Your delivery was never meant to be secret. It was meant to be seen, a distraction, a red herring. You bow deeply. Because what else can you do? This is how the game is played, and you're not even on the board. You're just a piece. That night he calls for you again, hands you another letter, smaller, folded in 4. No seal, just a name. A woman's name. You don't recognise it, but you don't ask questions anymore. You bow, you slip it into your sleeve, and you disappear into the night once more. Because that's what servants do, especially the ones who know too much and say too little. You don't know her name, only that it's written in thin, precise brushstrokes on a strip of mulberry paper folded so tightly You almost tear it opening your sleeve. You don't unfold it. You don't dare. The last time you tried reading something above your station, a scribe caught you and rapped your knuckles with a bamboo ruler so hard you couldn't carry tea for 2 days. This is not for you to know, only to deliver. But you know where to go, because you remember her. Not her name, not her rank, not even her full face, just a glimpse. You saw her once, maybe a season ago, standing behind a paper screen at a poetry gathering, her hand pressed against the rice paper, trembling ever so slightly as your master recited a verse about betrayal and plum blossoms. She never stepped forward. She didn't need to. That hand said more than any poem ever could. The village beyond the estate is quiet tonight. The lanterns are low. The breeze carries the scent of dried persimmons and horse sweat. You keep your head down, sleeves tucked, footsteps light. You pass a butcher sharpening his cleaver in the moonlight and a drunk stumbling out of a bathhouse humming about taxes. You reach the back entrance of the tea house. Not the front with the red lanterns and painted fans, the back where the rain gutters leak and the smell of vinegar-soaked radish never quite fades. A knock. Software 3 taps, 1 pause, then 2. The door creaks open just enough for an eye to appear. You bow. She opens it the rest of the way. She's younger than you expected, or older. It's hard to tell. Her face is plain, but her posture is that of someone used to being watched. Shoulders always just a little too perfect, smile always just a little too late. You hold out the letter with both hands. She doesn't take it, not immediately. She stares at it, then at you, then steps aside. Inside, she says. That's unusual. You're not supposed to go inside, but you go anyway. The room is small, tatami faded. The walls smell of old incense and perfume oil. A single candle flickers in the corner, guarded by a cracked porcelain lion. She closes the door behind you, then takes the letter. No bow, no thanks, just silence. She opens it right in front of you. You turn your eyes down. You hear the paper shift, a sharp inhale, the creak of her knees as she kneels. She's crying, not loudly, not even visibly. You just hear it, the smallest hitch in her breath, the tiniest sniff behind closed lips. Then a whisper. So he remembers. You still don't look. Not until she stands. Tell him, she says, voice low and bitter, that I burned it. You blink. But you didn't. I will, she snaps, then softens. I must. You bow again, lower this time, and you leave. You don't look back. By the time you return to the compound, the moon is past its peak. You expect quiet. But instead, you hear laughter, which is far more terrifying, because samurai do not laugh at night, at least not the real ones. You find the sound coming from the east veranda, where 2 visiting officials are seated with your master. They've been drinking. Sake cups litter the floor like fallen leaves. Your master sees you and says nothing, but you catch the faintest lift of his chin. You step forward, kneel, and whisper what she said. She read it, and she said she would burn it. A pause, then a nod. He turns back to his guests. But you remain kneeling, listening, and you realise something else. The laughter wasn't real. It was armour, clanging hollow to cover the sound of something cracking underneath. The next morning everything feels strange. The other servants avoid you, not obviously, just enough. They don't meet your eyes, don't offer to share the millet gruel. One of them, a young boy who once taught you how to fold towels into dragon shapes, won't even speak. Something's changed. You're no longer one of them, and you know why. Because you've risen in rank without rising in status. You carry messages, you see things. You're not a threat, not exactly, but you're close enough to the fire to make people sweat. That afternoon, the head steward pulls you aside. He's older than stone and smells like pickled onions and lacquer. He never speaks unless he's about to scold you, but today he just says, "Be careful." You bow. He walks away, and for the rest of the day every task feels sharper, more brittle. Folding robes, you triple-check the creases, polishing the blade. You use your own sleeve to catch every stray fleck of dust. Serving tea? You bow so low your forehead practically fuses with the floor, because something is coming. You don't know what, but you feel it in your bones, in the silence, in the way your master studies the sunset like he's memorizing it. That night you're summoned again, not by your master, by his mother. You've only met her once. She lives in the western wing, a secluded part of the estate draped in silence and camphor wood. No one goes there unless asked. And you're not prepared. You bathe. You dress in your cleanest robe. You scrub your hands until your knuckles sting. Then you walk across the stone path toward the one place everyone whispers about but never enters. She greets you herself. Old, elegant, terrifying. Her kimono is darker than ink and her hair is pinned with a single silver comb. She gestures for you to kneel. You do. She says nothing for a long time, and just watches you. Then, "My son is not a fool." You bow. But he is a man. You wait. I don't know what he's asked of you. I don't want to know. But I will tell you this. If you ever put him in danger, by mistake, by loyalty, or by ambition. She leans forward. Her breath smells like ginger and age. I'll know. You don't speak. You don't move. She leans back. Then just as quietly, "You may go." You bow so hard your back pops. And you leave. Heart pounding, mouth dry. You've just been threatened by a woman who's probably killed more men with rumours than swords. And you didn't even deliver a message this time. You were the message. You don't sleep that night, and you lie on your side, staring at the wooden slats of the servant's hut, counting each breath like it's a borrowed coin. Outside, the wind shifts. Inside, nothing stirs, not even the mice. You keep thinking about her words. If you ever put him in danger... You replay it, over and over, not because you fear her, which you do, but because of what it confirms. This isn't just about scrolls or whispered names anymore. It's about something that doesn't get written down. Family, legacy, and the kind of power that wears a smile while it sharpens a blade. The next morning you're not summoned. You're simply expected. You rise before the sun, wash your face with icy water, brush your robe and head to your master's chambers without waiting for the bell. He's already awake, sitting cross-legged, eyes closed, sword across his lap like it's sleeping. He opens one eye as you enter, doesn't speak, just nods, then gestures to the rack behind him. There's a second sword there today. You recognise it immediately. It belonged to his father. You helped clean it once during a festival. The scabbard was so old it cracked when you touched it. You were told to never speak of it again. Now it's laid out openly. He stands. He dresses himself. You just help with the ties, the armour plates, the final twist of silk at his waist. He doesn't ask for tea. He doesn't check the weather. He just says, "Today we ride." The horseyard is already busy. Armour clinks. Hooves stamp. There are more men today. Half-armoured retainers, scouts, mounted messengers. Something's moving. Your job is simple. You follow, 2 steps behind, always. He doesn't speak until you're halfway down the winding road that leads away from the estate and into the hills. Then finally, "Tell me," he says without looking back, "what did my mother say?" You nearly trip over your own feet. Silence stretches. "She said," you reply carefully, that you are not a fool. A pause. Then, but you are a man." He chuckles once, and the sound is strange. Less a laugh, more a sigh with teeth in it. "She has a way," he says. You nod. You don't dare speak again. You reach the overlook by mid-morning. From here you can see everything, the estate, the rice fields, the winding river like a snake in the sun. He dismounts. You follow. He sits on a boulder and watches the valley and then says, "My brother will make a move soon." You keep your eyes on the ground. He knows I know. He just doesn't know how much I'm willing to burn to stop him. A pause, then, "You've done well." It's the first time he's said that. Ever. You don't know what to do with it, so you bow. Too low, too fast. Your forehead hits the ground. He ignores it. "Your position," he says, "is unofficial." You nod. "You will not be promoted." You nod again. "You will not be protected." Your mouth goes dry. "But," he adds, "you may be useful." You want to ask what that means, but you don't, because in a samurai household, useful is just one thin string away from disposable. That evening back at the estate, you're given a new task, a simple one on paper. You are to accompany the steward to the granary. Inventory, that's all. But you notice the detail immediately. The granary belongs to your master's uncle. Technically loyal, practically neutral, politically suspicious. And the steward, he doesn't trust you. He walks 3 paces ahead, doesn't speak, and carries a small wooden rod in one sleeve, just long enough to break a finger. When you arrive, everything seems normal. The granary is full, the rice is sorted. The workers bow politely. Too politely, the steward nods at you. You check the southern wall, you obey, you count sacks, measure spacing, check for rot, until you reach the farthest corner and find a floorboard loose. Very loose. You lift it with the edge of your sleeve. Beneath it, straw, and under the straw, a ledger. Not official, not sealed. You don't open it, you bring it back. The steward opens it, and his face goes pale. Hidden inventory. Numbers don't match. Someone skimming rice. A lot of rice. Enough to feed a small battalion, or bribe one. You're told nothing. But when you return to the estate, you're not dismissed. You're told to wait, which is worse. Hours pass, the moon rises. You remain kneeling outside the war room, knees numb, hands clenched, heart pacing in your chest like a caged rat. Eventually the door slides open. Your master steps out. He looks exhausted, but focused. "You were right," he says. You blink. "About what, my lord?" "The southern wall." You hadn't said anything. Not really, but he knew. You nod slowly, he walks past you, then stops and turns. "Be ready," he says. "For what, my lord?" He doesn't answer. He just disappears down the corridor, his footsteps silent, his shadow longer than the hallway behind him. That night, as you lie on your mat staring at the ceiling, you try to remember when this all started. When you stopped just folding robes and started pulling invisible threads in a quiet war between blood and honour. You were a servant. Now you're something else, not a spy, not a samurai, just a witness to everything no one is allowed to say out loud. And the worst part? You know it's not over. It's just beginning. You know something is wrong the moment you step into the tea room. Not because anything is out of place. Everything is in place. Which is exactly the problem. The cups are aligned, the tatami swept. The kettle hums softly with steam, not yet boiling. The incense burns low, sweet and woody, sandalwood maybe. The scroll on the far wall shows a painted pine branch, balanced and peaceful. But no one speaks, and no one touches the tea. Hoshikawa-sama sits at the centre of the room, formal, still, robe freshly pressed. His mother sits opposite him, posture perfect, lips tight. To her left is his uncle, the one who owns the granary you helped expose. His hands rest lightly on his knees, his jaws clenched just a little too tight for someone here to celebrate unity. You kneel near the door, silent, invisible, just the servant, just the witness. The water begins to hiss in the kettle. Still no one moves. No tea is poured. No one wants to be the first to act. You realise suddenly that this isn't a tea gathering. It's a standoff. Polite, ritualised, smiling on the surface, but something poisonous is under the lacquer. The uncle speaks first, a compliment about the weather, the harvest, the health of the horses. Your master responds with a slight nod and a vague comment about river trade. It's a dance, one where every step is meant to make the other blink. The matriarch smiles thinly and changes the subject. Family matters, inheritance, loyalty. Each word carefully chosen, like blades passed under the tablecloth. The uncle brings up the ledger. He doesn't mention you, but you feel the weight of it in the room. Hoshikawa-sama simply says, "The rice is accounted for." No more, no less. The matriarch sips air from an empty cup. Still no tea. You wait outside after the meeting ends. You help clean up. Wipe the cups that were never used. Fold the cushion covers. Sweep the ashes from the incense tray. Your hands work while your ears burn. No one says it aloud, but you know, That was a warning. To everyone. No blood spilled, no insults spoken, but lines were drawn, and now everyone watches everyone, especially you. 2 nights later, you're called to the garden. It's late. The moon is high and sharp, like a blade in the sky. Your master waits beneath the cherry tree, wearing no armour, no swords, just a travel cloak. You kneel. He hands you a letter, sealed, this time with his personal stamp. This goes to Lord Akitada, he says. He is a friend. You've heard the name, a distant cousin, a minor official in the northern provinces, known for neutrality and poetry. Deliver it yourself, he says. Do not return until you have his answer. You bow, but something catches in your throat. You want to ask. Not what the letter says, you'd never dare. But why you? Why now? But he sees the question in your eyes and answers it before you can speak. If something happens to me, he says quietly, you must know who to trust. And then he adds, you've lasted longer than most. Your chest tightens, not with pride, but dread. You leave before sunrise. No fanfare, no horse, just sandals, a travel pack, and the scroll pressed to your ribs. The road to Lord Akitada's province is long, winding. You pass villages where no one speaks your language, hills covered in mist, shrines with wind chimes that whisper your name, or maybe just your guilt. You eat what you're given, sleep when you're allowed, bathe when the river isn't frozen, and all the while the scroll presses against you like a second heartbeat. When you arrive, Lord Akitada does not greet you. His steward does. An old man with clouded eyes and a voice like falling gravel. He leads you into a small study. You kneel. You present the scroll. He reads it in silence. His face doesn't change. He nods once, then seals a reply with wax and twine. Give him this, the steward says, and tell him the North remembers. You don't know what that means, but you bow deeply, and you run. The return journey is faster, your feet blister, your knees ache, but you don't stop, because you feel it. The weight behind you, the timing of the silence, something has happened. When you finally reach the estate, it's dusk, and it's quiet. Too quiet. No training shouts, no laughter from the kitchens, no clang of armour. You rush to your master's quarters. He isn't there. You check the garden, the sparring hall, the shrine, nothing, and then you hear it. From the west wing, raised voices, a crash. You sprint. By the time you reach the corridor, the door is half open. Inside, your master stands alone, blood on his sleeve. His uncle lies slumped near the wall, alive, breathing, but broken. 2 guards stand motionless at the door. No one speaks. Your master turns to you, his face unreadable. Then he simply says, "Well?" You kneel and hand him the scroll. He reads it, nods, then finally lets out a breath. "Good," he says, then adds, almost to himself, "Now we begin?" You don't know what "now we begin" means. Not really. But you feel it. In the air, in the silences, in the way the guards hold their spears slightly closer to their chests, and how the birds in the garden have stopped singing. Everything is a little too quiet. That's how you know it's already started. Your master doesn't speak of the night in the West Wing. No one does. The uncle is recovering. The guards saw nothing. And you? You sweep the hallway where the blood stained the wood, pretending you don't notice the slightly darker patch under your foot. You polish armour that may or may not be used tomorrow. You fold robes with hands that still shake, and no one tells you why, but you know the shape of things now, and they are sharp. The next morning a messenger arrives from the capital. He wears imperial grey, has a scroll sealed in vermilion, and doesn't remove his sandals when he enters the main hall. You don't hear the meeting, but you see your master afterward, alone, staring at the koi pond like it holds an answer he doesn't want. You bring him tea, he doesn't touch it, just says, "They're watching now," and that's all. By midday the estate changes. Walls are inspected, food stores inventoried again, runners dispatched to nearby outposts, letters written and burned and written again. You're given new tasks, not harder, just quieter. You deliver sealed pouches to couriers with no crest. You pass messages to shrine caretakers with no return address. You clean rooms that no one is using, but someone might. You are no longer just useful, you're part of the pattern, not a brushstroke, but the thread binding them, and threads snap when pulled too tight. 2 days later, something strange happens. A child arrives, not local, too clean, too calm. She says nothing, just presents a folded paper to the gate guard. It's for Hoshikawa-sama. He reads it alone, then orders a horse. He doesn't take you, doesn't take anyone. He rides out before sunset alone and doesn't return until dawn. When he does, his eyes are hollow. He doesn't explain. But that night he sharpens his blade for an hour, then burns something in the fire. You glimpse the ashes before they're swept away. It was a poem. You're woken the next night by voices outside your hut. Not loud, just firm and close. You don't open the door. You wait. You listen. Eventually they go away. In the morning your straw sandals are missing. You find them near the stable, sliced through the soles. A warning. When you report it, the steward nods once, then says, "From now on, don't walk alone." That's all. You're not reassigned, you're not protected, just warned. And you realise the truth of your station again. You are not a samurai. You're not a soldier. You are a servant. And in war, servants are either shadows or stains. The tension coils tighter. 2 senior retainers leave suddenly. Family illness, they say. One of them bows to you as he departs. His hand lingers longer than it should. You find a coin in your sleeve later. Gold. No note. You return it. Quietly, without explanation. And from that moment on, that man's name is not spoken in the estate again. That night, Hoshikawa-sama calls for you. He sits in the writing room, wearing his informal robes, sipping cold tea. No sword, just scrolls, stacks of them, and one resting open. You recognise the script. It's your handwriting, your notes, from months ago, copied for accuracy, carefully preserved. "You remember this?" he asks. You bow. "Yes, my lord." "You've done more than I expected." He rolls the scroll slowly. "And more than I asked." A beat passes. Then, "Would you die for me?" The question drops like a stone in a still pond. You don't answer. Not because you don't know, but because the answer doesn't matter. Not here. Not in this world. He nods, not an agreement, just acknowledgement. "Good," he says, "because tomorrow I may need you to." You don't sleep that night. You wait by the door, your sandals, new ones, are tied extra tight. You polish the tanto knife hidden beneath your sleeve, not because you plan to use it, but because someone else might. You study your own face in a bucket of water. You don't recognise it. At sunrise the bell tolls once and then again. Summons. You join the others in the main hall, dozens, more than you've ever seen in one place. Servants, guards, retainers, family. Your master stands at the front. Beside him, his mother, his younger brother, even the steward. He speaks, clearly, calmly. He says the estate has been compromised, that a faction within has been diverting supplies, forging reports, corrupting alliances. He doesn't name names, so he doesn't have to. He says the Emperor's men will arrive within a week to inspect. And when they do, this house must be clean, pure, ready, loyal. And then he does something that makes your stomach fall out of your body. He turns, points to you. "This one will deliver the final letters," he says. "You trust me, I trust him." The room goes still, all eyes on you. You bow so low you see your own breath on the floor. After the meeting, you're handed a bundle, sealed scrolls, 6 of them, each addressed to a different lord, councillor or monk, each name heavier than stone. You're to leave at sundown, no escort and no mistake, no second chance. You're not just the messenger now, you're the message. And as you leave the compound that night, alone, wrapped in travelling cloth, scrolls tight across your chest, you realise something terrifying. You are not afraid. Not because you're brave, but because this life, the silence, the secrecy, the obedience, has burned out the part of you that trembles. You don't walk fast, you walk right, because you're a servant. And this is what servants do at the end of the story. You don't remember falling asleep, but you remember waking. It's somewhere between dusk and dawn, the sky bruised with smoke-coloured clouds, and your legs ache in places you didn't know had muscles. You're sitting beneath a cedar tree, scroll still strapped to your chest, your hands still gripping the travelling staff like it's the only thing anchoring you to the world. Because it is. You're halfway through your route now, 3 letters delivered, 3 still untouched. 1 to a shrine priest who wouldn't make eye contact, 1 to a minor lord who only opened the scroll after you left, and 1 to a woman with grey in her hair and steel in her eyes who asked you a single question. Do you believe in what he's doing? You didn't answer. She didn't need you to. The road is long and empty now. No more travellers, no birdsong, just wind and your footsteps and the creak of your worn-out sandals. You walk because there's nothing else to do. You walk because that's what you were told to do. You walk because if you stop, even for a moment, the silence might catch up and ask you what you've become, and you don't have an answer for that. Not anymore. By the 5th delivery, your name is known. A steward bows deeper than he should. A servant in the receiving household brings you hot rice without asking. A warrior nods at you as you pass, his hand never leaving the hilt of his blade. You're not just a servant now, you're a symbol. And you hate it. Because symbols are easy to destroy. The final delivery is not to a house. It's to a field, an old battlefield long overgrown where farmers now plant barley and pretend the bones beneath the soil aren't still whispering. There's no building, just a stone, weathered, unmarked. You know what it is. A grave. Maybe his father's, maybe someone else's, but important enough that your master would send you here last. You kneel, unstrap the final scroll, and burn it. That was the instruction. Deliver the others, burn the last. No words, no name, just fire. The paper curls, the wax hisses, the smoke rises. You don't breathe until it's gone. You don't cry. You haven't cried in weeks, maybe months. When you return to the estate, it's quiet. Not tense, not busy, just still, like something already happened. And now everyone is pretending it didn't. You bow to the guards, they let you pass. You bow to the steward. He nods once, tiredly. You bow before entering the main chamber. No one answers. You find Hoshikawa-sama alone in the garden, kneeling at the edge of the koi pond, robe loose, hair down. He looks at you, not like a master, not like a warrior, but like a man who finally finished digging his own grave and isn't sure whether to lie in it or fill it with someone else. Was it done? He asks. You nod. He nods too, then says, I think that's enough. You don't know if he's talking about the letters, or the war, or you. The next morning the officials from the capital arrive. Dressed in silk, faces like carved wood, they inspect everything. Ledgers, walls, people. No one looks at you, which is exactly how you survive it. You remain a shadow in the corner. You bow when required, speak only when spoken to, and when they leave your master still has his title, his lands, and his head, which all things considered is a victory. That night you're called to his quarters one final time. He doesn't sit on the cushion. He sits on the floor, cross-legged, at ease, almost like you're equals. You kneel anyway. He studies you, then says, I had no right to use you. You bow your head. But I did, he continues, and you endured it. A pause, then, so, what do you want? You blink. You weren't prepared for that question. You consider it. A room of your own, a stipend, a horse. Number, you say, to continue serving my lord. He smiles faintly. You're a fool. You bow. Yes, my lord. In the years that follow, the estate holds. Wars come and go. Lords rise and fall. The old matriarch dies in her sleep. The younger brother disappears into politics. Your master grows older, quieter. You do too. You learn to read better, to write in his voice, to forge his seal when needed. You attend every meeting, clean every blade, and still wash his robes with your own hands. And yet, you never speak of what happened. Not the messages, not the betrayals, not the names whispered behind the paper doors. Because that's not your place. Your place is beside him, 2 steps behind. Always. And when he finally dies, not in battle, not by blade, but in his sleep, in his chair, with his sword across his knees, they find you sitting beside him, eyes open, still as stone. And when they ask what his final words were, you smile faintly and say, "He said he was ready for tea." If you're still awake, well, I'm impressed, because most listeners fall asleep somewhere between the poisoned tea and the forged ledger. But if you're still here, still listening, still dreaming, thank you. I hope this strange little journey through the shadows of feudal Japan gave you something to chew on. Maybe it helped you rest. Maybe it helped you forget. Or maybe, just maybe, it made you feel a little less alone in the dark. If you liked this story, and you're still conscious enough to wiggle a thumb, consider liking the video or subscribing to the channel. Leave a comment if you're still awake. Tell me what time period or hidden job you want to live next. And now, close your eyes, let the world fall away. You've survived enough for one life. The garden is quiet now, the candles are low, and your master is sleeping. So sleep, you've earned it.